Hello, I'm John Mitchell, and this is the first of 7 short videos introducing a new vision of leadership and culture for business, government and the professions. A vision embodied in the Mitchell model. The Mitchell model connects and integrates key aspects of psychology and mindset, communication and decision-making, organizational strategy and effectiveness, and citizenship and government. It responds to a clear need for a complete and practical set of concepts and tools that reflect reality and at the same time enable joined-up assessment and development of leadership and culture. In this first video, we'll explore key concepts that connect and integrate a range of different contexts from the psychological through the individual and organizational to the governmental, and reveal a scale of relative quality that can be applied in each of these contexts. In subsequent videos, we'll go into depth in relation to quality in each context, gradually uncovering how the Mitchell model includes, transcends, and integrates other models and approaches, and how it can be applied as a unique and all-encompassing development tool for business, professional, government, and other organizations. Let's start by recalling the well-known story set in medieval times of a traveller who passes a building site where 3 stonemasons are working. And he asks each of them, "What are you doing?" And the first replies, "I'm cutting this stone." The second says, "You see that wall? I'm finishing it off." The third, being asked, "What are you doing?" raises his eyes and says, "I'm building a cathedral." On the face of it, each stonemason looks as though they're doing the same activity. At the same time, internally, their intention and possibly their quality of attention is quite different. And this can have an impact if, for example, there's a change. Let's imagine each of these stonemasons is asked to help with a delivery of stained glass to the cathedral site. The first one, not my job. Second one, does it depend on my wall? Does my wall connect to it? Maybe I'll help. Third stonemason, part of the cathedral? Sure. 2 very important things here for leadership and culture. First, we see a relationship between a level of awareness and attitude, and therefore behavior and conduct. The higher awareness generates a higher attitude, or more positive, constructive attitude, which can have a constructive impact on behavior. And secondly, if we picture a development between stonemason 1 moving to stonemason 2 and then becoming stonemason 3, we can already see a principle emerging of include and transcend. Each higher level includes and transcends the lower. Level 2 includes and transcends level 1. Level 3 includes and transcends level 2. This story opens up the relationship between awareness, relatively high and relatively low, and constructive action, which can also be relatively high or low. From this, we can already reach a definition of qualitative growth and decay. Growth meaning balanced increases in awareness and constructive action, decay meaning a falling away of awareness or of constructive action, or both. We can also note that growth in this sense requires intentional effort, while decay tends to happen automatically over time. From the story, we've already seen also that there can be relatively higher or lower levels of connectedness of awareness and constructive action, as with the 3 stonemasons. And similarly, we'll find that there are recognizable levels of awareness and constructive action underpinning both leadership and culture, and that there are negative as well as positive levels. These levels are important because they'll enable us to study and understand the differences in quality between different leaders and different cultures, and the dynamics of growth and decay that underpin them. Elaborating our story a little further, we can imagine that a discussion takes place between stonemasons 1 and 2. Stonemason 2 criticizes stonemason 1 for not helping with the stained glass, and stonemason 1 starts defending himself, taking them both to level -1. The discussion becomes a violent argument, level -2, and before long they are locked in a frenzied brawl that will only end through exhaustion and leave an indelible mark on their relationship. level -3. Using these parameters of relative awareness and constructive action, the Mitchell model identifies 6 core and readily verifiable levels of both leadership and culture, giving them the following generic descriptions. +1 level is termed constructive passivity, typically a leader or culture focused on being true to precedent and preserving positive elements of the past. A culture of compliance is an example of level +1. When overzealous or put under pressure, level +1 easily fluctuates to level -1, destructive passivity, becoming defensive and holding on too much to established habits and ways. The level +2 leader or culture is constructively dynamic, actively working towards desired results and generating change. This can also oscillate with level -2, destructive dynamism, as in a football or hockey game in which healthy competition suddenly breaks into a fight between players on opposing teams. The level +3 leader or culture has the generic descriptor constructive inclusion of new thoughts, new ideas, new people, including and transcending level +2, with the special characteristic that it does not flip over or fluctuate into a negative state, but can only descend back into level +2. Similarly, level -3, with the generic descriptor destructive exclusion, can only be reached as an extension downwards from level -2. This is the world, for example, of a leader or culture that has become isolated to the point of actual or impending self-destruction, such as an egoistic dictator who has lost all meaningful contact with the outside world, or a so-called leader who manages to become a mass murderer. So there are 6 fundamental levels of leadership and culture, 3 positive and 3 negative, and as we'll see, these generic descriptors acquire more precise terms as they're applied in specific contexts, such as the psychological and the organizational. What's important and helpful initially is to get a broad feel for these different levels, which in a very real way are different worlds that we can all potentially relate to through experience. As we've started to see, there can be fluctuations between levels +1 and -1, and between levels +2 and -2, though not between levels +3 and -3. Leaders and cultures also tend to have a center of gravity that becomes established. Growth will mean moving the center of gravity to a higher level. Decay means it falls to a lower level. We'll explore the dynamics of this in later videos, and particularly in video number 6 of this series. So we've considered conceptually some of the key differences between leaders in terms of their quality. Let's now look at the structure of relationships that underpins most, if not all, leadership roles and organizational cultures. The structure of leadership and culture is based on 4 types of relationship. Typically, there'll be a higher authority, a lower authority, a peer-level relationship, and externally, some other relationship on which reputation depends. Note that this use of the word authority implies decision-making power and does not at all imply authoritarian styles of leadership. There are 9 contexts in which these sets of relationship apply, and each context consists of 4 relationships based on decision-making authority. The 6 levels of quality apply in each of the 9 contexts, and the same development principles apply in all contexts. In context 1, the context of individual leader, we have the well-known set of 360 relationships, with staff in the downwards relationship, and of course that's the one to which many, if not most, books and courses on leadership are focused, even though the other 3 are arguably just as important. There's the relationship with the boss, extremely important because without that relationship, the other 3 relationships may not exist. And the boss may be an individual person, or for a senior leader, the boss may in fact be a partnership or a group of shareholders and so on. And the other 2 relationships are the relationship with peers, also very important for the culture, and the relationship with whoever is external, let's say clients, for example. Contexts 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the inner psychological contexts. First, the broad one of mindset, which itself breaks down to 3 further distinct contexts that can be studied and developed separately. Context 3, intellectual intelligence. Context 4, emotional intelligence. And context 5, physical intelligence, which between them create the combined mindset and its external impact and influence that may be described in terms such as presence, charisma, empathy, and persuasiveness. Each of the psychological contexts also has 6 levels of quality. We'll explore this in depth in video 3. In context 6, which is the context of parts of an organization such as departments, business units, and professional practice areas, the higher authority is the organization itself, with teams and staff below, and other departments, business units, or practice areas as the peer group. Externally, there are the markets and the wider public. Again, the 6 levels of quality also apply here, as we'll study in video 4. In context 7, that of the organization within its market, the components of the organization form the lower authority, the departments, business units, and practice areas. The peer group comprises other organizations, which may be competitive or collaborative, and then externally, regulatory bodies and the wider public. Again, the 6 levels of quality can be brought to bear here to create an understanding of quality, growth, and development, as we'll see also in video 4. Context 8 is the context of citizenship, with in the lower position of authority, junior citizens, including children, at the higher level of authority, local community, in the middle, the citizen, taking a leadership role with a peer group that might consist of a partner, friends, or family, and externally the wider community. Again, the 6 levels of quality apply, as we'll see in video 5. And finally, context 9, the context of government, where the higher authority is the sovereign state or nation, the lower authority, departments or local government, the peer group consisting of other governments, and externally there'll be international bodies and the international community. Once again, the 6 levels of quality apply here, as we'll study in more depth in video 5. So now we come to a summary of the Mitchell model and its benefits. The Mitchell model reveals and connects 6 levels of quality, from -3 to +3, that apply to 9 contexts spanning the psychological, individual, social and citizenship, organizational and governmental. And in the coming videos we'll see in depth how the 6 levels apply to each of the 9 contexts to create a view of overall quality in each. And then a development approach that embodies include and transcend as a fundamental principle, the model itself indeed including and transcending other models. Benefits: it's efficient and effective, replacing multiple sources of traditional external input and empowering managers to facilitate their own and others' development. It's practical, saving time and money, an end to paralysis by analysis, and brings financial strength through developing a culture of continuous learning and improvement. So, how can interested organizational leaders and decision makers find out more about the Mitchell model and its potential value to them personally and for their organizations? There are 3 ways. First, take time to study and assimilate all 7 of these introductory videos, which will help you already to get some bearings about where your leadership and organizational quality currently stands. Secondly, you can apply to join one of our series of International Leadership Weeks that are held in Switzerland, China and Bermuda each year. These give interested CEOs, professional managing partners and government officials a unique opportunity to explore the Mitchell model in a practical way, while networking with counterparts from other organizations with similar interests. And thirdly, if you'd like to have direct contact through an initial phone call or meeting, please email me at the address shown and I'll be happy to respond.